next one is the Sporting Clays tournament, which that's October 2nd, I believe. Let me double check that real quick. But yeah, that's always a super fun one. We're not one of the better teams, but we're better at that than we are in golf. But there's usually a couple teams that average like 94, 95, somewhere in there. We're more like in the low to mid 80s average. So, but it's not bad, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
I wish my golf score was lower than my shooting score, but unfortunately, not usually. How's everything going for you?
Yeah, everything's going well. We just stabilized the product. It's gotten a lot better. I don't know when. I think you used it a little bit last week. We fixed that issue that I messaged you about, and
Yeah.
but the software more stable.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just uploaded one about 15, 20 minutes ago, something like that. It was just a small one for a job that we had already done, mostly underground for some sports lighting, but
Yeah.
it already came back. Like I literally uploaded it and then walked away from my computer for 10, 15 minutes and it came back, and same thing, pretty close to like what our actual bid price was. The trenching is like the labor on that. It's a little bit higher than what we usually charge, but same thing. It's easy. I mean, to me, super convenient to just throw it in there and then come back and look at it and go, oh, okay, we can just tweak that a little bit and, just kind of find the sweet spot there.
Yeah. That's kind of what, I mean, I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's exactly what we decided to do, right? To be like an easy way to scope something out, especially on the cost side. Not, you're not missing anything, and just let you, put together a number that makes sense.
Oh yeah, and that's even like the trenching. I mean, because it's such a generic term to have trench, so it's like that could be a trench. Could be for this one it was just 1 inch PVC, so I'm like we got a small ditch for that. But if it was like a duck bank, where you got multiple runs of 3 inch or 4 inch or something, I'm like, well, I could see where it would definitely be on that higher end. So easy to kind of tweak it on a job to job basis, and especially with doing the whole like the difficulty of it, where it's like you can just tweak it up or down. That kind of falls in line with how we would do it. So
yeah, that's perfect. I think part of the reason the trenching is so high is a lot of people, I think our system sort of expects you to get a subcontractor for it. I don't know if you guys do it yourselves or if you subcontract it out and then add margin on top of it.
oh yeah, and that's for this one, like I literally just changed it from normal to easy, and it pretty much came up exactly what we would charge. Maybe just like slightly different, but but same thing. I agree. Like you said, we have a sub that does most of ours, and I mean they're charging $15 to $20 a foot now, depending on what the difficulty of it is. So you want to be covered for sure.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It looks pretty solid. It looks like, I mean, we were able to get you pretty much match almost everything except for the trenching, which is just sort of more of a guesstimate.
Oh yeah, and like I said, that's depending on what it is. Like there might be times where if we're running a service and it's got to be deeper or something, it's like I'm going to go with the harder difficulty and raise that up a little bit. So it's to me it's definitely in there. Nothing was like way out of whack that I noticed on these of like anything being like a big error, or really no errors at all, I would say. Even the stainless steel boxes, it's like, to me, that's kind of a generic term. It could be a hinge box, screw cover box, all that, but I feel like the $570 material cost is, pretty fair price in there. So
Nice. I'm just gonna message us. I don't know if Cecily wants to be on this or.
yeah, I was expecting her because she replied that she'd be on it.
Yeah, I'll give her a message real quick. There we go. One second. I just our text message. While we're waiting on her, we can just go through some quick product review questions, just because this is being recorded and just for yeah. So, if you wouldn't mind, just name, title, company, what you handle day to day.
Yeah, Miles Makeoff the third, project manager, estimator, Miles Electrical Contracting Incorporated. Kind of handle day to day, project management, overseeing projects, ranging all different types from schools, apartments, office renovations, and then estimating. I'm kind of one of the two estimators for the company and do anything ranging from small service work to $3 million projects.
Awesome, yeah. And how do you estimate today? Do you use the software? Estimate software.
Mostly by hand. I mean, prior to using this product now, Makeoff. I mean, we have ConEst. I was not super familiar with it, so I would use it, sparingly, kind of, but a lot of it just kind of, doing the takeoff and then pricing it out using the I use like one of the estimating books. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it right now, but it's not the Nika one. But it's like one similar to that.
Okay.
No, it's not RS Means either. It might just be National Electrical Estimator or National Electric Estimator. Let's see if I can put that up really quick. But yeah, I'm definitely a tedious process because it's all, by hand, kind of flipping through pages and going back and forth. And, some of it we kind of do them as like assemblies, so you're able to save a little bit of time there. But, definitely your software has made it a lot quicker and easier for me to just upload it and let it rip.
Yeah. Awesome. What about biggest headache, like with the current process? You're saying, like, is it mostly looking up your labor, or what I guess used to take the longest amount of time?
Yeah, I mean, the labor sometimes, really a lot of it's the materials, and it's just because the material cost, varies a lot too. So it's like you see that in like the steel for the conduit. PVC prices have been kind of all over the place the last handful of years, and then copper pricing goes up and down and up and down. So, trying to be accurate, but also projecting out ahead, because a lot of times the stuff we're bidding, we don't start for, a couple months out. So it's like you don't want to be doing it all on, pricing that's current, but then not be able to cover it and, when the jobs actually get rolling. So it's definitely, a little bit more tedious, just kind of keeping up with it and updating that. And it's just called the National Electrical Estimator. The one I've been using was the 2025, I think. Yeah, I haven't switched. Looks like they have the 2026 out now, but I haven't switched to that yet. But that it's, pretty accurate, but every once in a while you come across something that's a little out of whack, and so we, make our tweaks and adjustments to that too. So
Nice. So if the software, if our system is able to deliver on the value to you, like, what exactly would that mean? Like, how, if this works, what changed for you? Like, what's been helpful for you?
Huge time saver. I mean, just like I said, being able to take my takeoff and just put it in and kind of put it in at my discretion of like, all right, I may need to have this priced up sometime tomorrow, but I can go ahead and upload it today and walk away and not have to touch it or do anything with it. And then, I can come back later on in the day when I've got a little more time, or check it, the following morning or something like that, and it's already calculated it up and got it in there. And then it's just a matter of kind of reviewing and tweaking it versus actually sitting there and going through everything, line by line, pricing it out. So it's definitely been a huge help in time savings. And it depends on the size of the takeoff. To be able to quantify, to say exactly how many hours each one saves, it kind of varies. Like I've done a couple of smaller projects on here that I would say probably would take me, 3 to 4 hours to price, and on here I'm uploading it and it's done in 10 or 15 minutes. So, that's a pretty significant time savings there. But I'm sure, like, even some of the bigger jobs I put in, it might take me, 8 hours to price it, and this thing's still kicking it out in an hour or less, probably 30 minutes or something.
Yeah, great. I'm gonna hear Cecily's joining 1 sec. Hey, Cecily, how are you?
I am good. How are you? My
Good,
apologies.
thanks. No worries. Roofers.
Good morning, Cicely.
I do have roofers. Well, we fought rain last week. It's been, back and forth and back and forth. So they were able to start yesterday. And so, yes. So I will keep myself muted so you don't hear the shingles being
Awesome.
late.
All right, great. We're just wrapping up some quick questions before we get into the rest of this. And realistically, what we're gonna do is probably I'm gonna rip through a very quick product demo again,
Okay.
and just be a refresher for Miles, just because this is being recorded. And then what we're gonna do is write this up and probably put it on our website. And you've seen some of the ones we've done in the past. So that's just like a very quick overview of what the plan is.
Perfect.
It's on the same page. So I'm just gonna keep going through these questions real quick. We have like 1 or 2 more, and then I'm just gonna dive right into just a quick presentation, and we can go from there.
Perfect.
Perfect. All right, great. All right, so Miles, on your side, any like absolute must-haves to adopt this like a platform? I mean, I guess a better way to say this would be like, who do you think would be a good fit for this product, having used it for about a month?
Yeah, I mean, we're a small company and it's worked out great for me. I mean, I know some people probably would look at something like this and be like, "Oh, it's, more geared towards a company that's just doing estimates, 24/7 nonstop." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sure it is great for people that are doing that, but even for me, I'm like, I'm probably doing a couple estimates a week and it's still saving me several hours on each one, and when you put that over the span of, weeks and weeks going on, I'm like, I'm sure I'd be saving, a really significant amount of time over the span of a year or, even a month at a time. So, to me, I don't see why anybody, regardless of the size of their company, would not be interested in it or wouldn't be a good product for them. I mean, to me, like I said, it's already saved me, several hours, and I've only been using it for a couple of weeks. So,
Yeah, awesome.
time is valuable. The smaller you are too, when you're, like me, I'm always kind of stretched out doing a million things. So if I can save a couple hours here or there, it just gives me a chance to do something else. So
Great. 1 sec. I just want to make sure. All right. Let me. I just don't want to. I want to make sure I don't accidentally. I've got a support account, so I see all the takeoffs, and I was looking at yours, Miles, just to make sure that it loaded properly. So I just,
Sure.
don't know if you want me to share that or not, but I just exited out of it just in case.
Oh yeah, it's no problem.
Okay.
Like I said, that was the one I just uploaded is a project we've actually already completed. I was just comparing because I'm like, well, I can look back at, how we had done that one and just kind of do a comparison price wise.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, so I'm just going to show like 2 or 3 quick slides, get into the product, and then we can just sort of open it up for questions and things like that. Miles, for you, especially being someone who's used the product now for several weeks, might be helpful to, ask any questions, customer support questions, things that don't come up as you've been using it. Just make the best use of your time, and then we can sort of wrap it up after that. So real quick, 2 quick slides. Our system, to give you guys a background of our company for the state, Makeoff is a 6-month-old AI pre-construction software. We started off, we took a commercial electrical contract or estimation contract. So we've done about 50 estimates. We helped win a $4 million Amtrak bid and our closed pilot. And our software, as we were taking on that estimation contract, we sort of came up with these 3 core tenets of what a good commercial electrical bid looks like. And it's, lowest possible cost. So coming in and having a competitive number, because in most bid scenarios, lowest number wins. Most complete, winning bids that are profitable for the electrical contractor. And then finally, maximum choice, being able to provide alternates and increase win rates by quickly creating alternate bids while your competitors are, staying up till 10, 11 p.m. trying to get a base bid together. So, we built a platform to deliver on this value. So, we help optimize for the lowest possible cost materials. We use AI, and we will shop through every single one of your line items and click the lowest possible cost and remain, while maintaining spec compliance. Number 2 is, we'll flag missing specs and line items. Number 3, we'll create VE alternates with one click. And we have, there's no onboarding to this system. So you can just pick this up and use it. Unlike Conest or Accubate or some of these other ones, there's no courses or trainings or anything like that. Sorry, one second. I gotta take my jacket off. This is really warm in here. I'm in a call room at our co-working space. Oh my gosh, sweating as I was presenting. Sorry about that. One second. There we go. Okay. So, in our system, just as a refresher, we exist for the, at this point, the estimator has done a takeoff and is looking to get an estimate. So this takeoff, you can see you've got your list of materials, quantities, that kind of thing, right? Basically, this is what our system needs to be able to price all these things out. And you might be bidding on something that looks like this. One second. I'm just gonna pull up the blueprints here. Just a good blueprint example set would be this one, which is right here, right? You've got a lot of general notes. It's a 7 electrical set for a 5-10-inch shell fit out in Orlando. So with those 2 items with our system, you basically would come in here, add your takeoff, which is that list of materials and quantities. Add your material. And our system, once we upload these 2 things, our system will start going to work and matching your items. You've got your material database here. This is where you can manage your vendor preferences. We do have a default national vendor that will live quote everything in the system. So for the most part, unless there's a yellow square, it's a live quoted price. It's good for 30 days. You also have your labor database selection. So by default, we use Nika. You can also upload your own labor units. We can support those. So once I hit start here, our system is going to pull out all of those line items and start shopping them immediately. And it's going to introduce the context of a commercial project into its searches. So here a thread now going to search with our vendor catalog. I have a pre-run version of this. And so you can see this is what it'll look like when it's matched. Our system is using context of commercial jobs to do these matches. So for example, the 6 AWG copper is stranded because it's a common spec to use stranded wire above gauge sizes of 10 AWG. And you've got your quantity, your unit cost here, labor hours at a NICO 1, and it's rolling it all up into this summary line item up here. So super valuable. Second, we're also building assemblies on the fly. So if you upload something like 4-inch conduit, we're going to add your conduit, your couplings, your fittings, your straps, things like that. So super helpful that you don't miss anything. We will create the assemblies for you. And one other cool thing is switchgear quoting can take weeks. We built something that can actually understand and break down the switchgear and build the switchgear on the fly here. So our system will, basically on this product, and so you can cut down your switchgear quoting costs. Our system is building the switchgear using the products from your material catalog from your vendor to give you an accurate price. And then there's some things that you can see this mounting kit. This is an installation related cost. Our system understands not to introduce any unit costs, but only to add the labor associated with installation. And so it has a very nuanced understanding of the needs of an electrical commercial estimator. So scrolling down here to the bottom, you've got your material list. You can mark this up. You can add your markups here as necessary. You got your labor, G&A, sales tax, contingency for change orders. If you want to set money aside for specific amounts for expected changes, you can do that here. And then your profit margin of 10%. All these are modifiable. When you're done, you export this to an invoice, and you have a full itemized list. And you can share a little of this as you want. Effectively, you've got your total labor, material, etc. So just to show some of the reasoning stuff, I'm going to go in here and add, like, let's say the general contractor comes back with some notes and says like, hey, we want to add another circuit. You can put in something like wiring conduit for 30 amp circuit, and it's 100 feet from the, it's 100 feet from the panel, and we're going to hit process here, and this system's going to build out this exact to spec line item for you. So it's super helpful for going back and forth. In most estimating softwares, each one of these line items would be what would be considered like a database item. So it'd be something like you're looking up in a book. Whereas in our system, all of these are searches. So like you can do things like this, and our system will reason through what you mean before it actually returns a result. So while that loads, I'm just going to show what this looks like on the blueprint reader. So in this spec sheet, you can imagine doing, an estimate late at night, especially for these smaller contractors who are working in the field during the day and then estimating at night. Very easy to miss a spec. And this, look at this. Buried in here is temporary light and power. Very easy to miss. This would basically cut your profit margin in half. I know that some contractors will put in stipulations around what they're allowed to be, change ordered for and whatnot, but this would be roughly 5%, 4% of your total profit. So you could lose this and it would not be protected by most, subcontractor contracts. So in our system, we are reading these notes. So if I look up temp power, here is that note that we just covered. If I scroll down the bottom, you can see that we're reading all of the notes. Here's that page 7 of the 7-page set, and then we're flagging these things for you. Ranked on financial severity. So here's that temporary light and power. Here's the note that it's pulling directly from the blueprints as a citation, and then it's recommending what you should add in order to be compliant. Now you don't have to add all these things, but it helps. It will especially help with exemptions, and will help flag things that might easily get missed. Arc flash protection, arc flash. We know that arc flash connections like that; those things can cause fires if they're improperly installed. So there's all sorts of different things that this is pulling up. Yeah.
I'm not. Maybe it's just me, but your screen is frozen. I'm not seeing. I don't think the correct thing. We're still back when you were. The notes did not pull up. I'm just
It's on the export.
Shoot.
When you did the export screen, it's still stuck there. Yep.
There you go. Thanks. Sorry, just making sure I'm not missing. Some of this is above my head, so.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that would a bad presentation that would be.
No, so
I didn't want to interrupt you. I was waiting until you had a pause, but yeah, thank you, Cecily, because it was showing the same on my end too.
Yeah, are these blueprints in the room with us right now? Yeah, so
there you go.
Yeah, there we go. So this is the blueprint set, right? So very easy to miss a node in here. You can see, like, if I scroll in, here's temporary light and power, which we covered. And you can see that it's buried in this massive block of text, right? Very easy to miss this. So in our system, that's still matching. I'll make sure you guys can see this. Yeah. So if I look up the blueprint notes, you can see it's pulling it in right here, and it's reading all the notes. So like when I talk about having to go like down here, you can see this is page 7. It's pulling in everything off this blueprint, and then it's flagging and ranking the missed items. So like you wouldn't want to miss this fire alarm control panel. You've got, there's some weird device scope ambiguity, but here's that temporary light and power note. Here's the supporting citation from the blueprint itself. And so you've got your suggestion in here. There's all sorts of, and we're pulling in all sorts of things. It's ranking based on severity. So if we come down to the bottom, it's going to have some smaller stuff, right? Which is like, hey, this is indicating that this might be provided by others. Plastic bushings, that might be something you include by default, but you definitely don't want to miss stuff like temporary power or your fire alarm control panel, things like that. So coming back here by now, yeah, there we go. So if I open this up, you can see that our system built a full assembly, and added all of the relevant materials for this extra circuit. Here's your conduit. Here is your three conductor run, and it even color coded the wires for you. So the black, red, green, and it so it did 3 runs because you need hot, neutral, and ground. So you can do all sorts of different things in here, but it's super helpful for being responsive to general contractor questions. And then the final thing we like to show is the value engineering. So this is something that we're going to continue to build out, but right now we do have one that's pre-built. And what you can do is hit this generate aluminum feeder alternate, and our system will scan this takeoff, identify what your feeders are, swap them for aluminum, upsize them to account for the conductivity of materials, and then do a PVC conduit fill rate analysis, assuming 4 wires to every pipe, which is like common feeder from the, based on the one line diagrams that we have. This is what really separates this software from other things that people might have used in the past, which is that this is AI using the software next to you. It's not just a feature of, hey, my support chat has AI now. You can see that it's calling tools within our system. What it's going to do is duplicate your base bid and then make these changes too, so it doesn't affect your real estimate. And this is a way to shave money off your estimate before it goes to the general contractor. So you can see it's also giving you a summary of what it did. So it removed your 600 case mil. It removed the 4-inch PVC conduit. It upsized the PVC conduit to 5-inch, and it upsized the conductors significantly. And so if I come here, the system is probably going to be matching these things. Yeah, down here. You can see it even duplicated the line items that I added here. So this is something we built to be able to quickly create more competitive bid packages for an electrical contractor with little to no additional work. So that's the overview. Should have been I think I've got it down to about 10, 12 minutes. So we start covering some questions, things like that. Anything comes up. Miles, anything you saw here that maybe you hadn't seen or anything like that?
Sorry, not particularly in this demonstration. I know you had kind of walked me through a lot of this stuff before, so a lot of it, was similar. I did appreciate, more of the explanation on the notes, because I've uploaded some specs, on some of them, and it did put those notes in there. So it's nice to see, that it's catching stuff and kind of bringing it to your attention. And like in the note where it had the temporary power, it's not automatically putting any kind of line item in the actual takeoff for that, right? It's just kind of alerting you to it, and then it's up to you whether or not you're going to put anything in the takeoff.
Yeah, so we're working on functionality that will allow you to quickly add. It's the suggestion, but we don't do anything by default with this information, because we don't know if you want to include it or if you want to. A good example of this is actually the fire alarm stuff. Like, you might want to exempt the whole fire alarm system or subcontract out and not want to add these things. Right, we see that a lot with people who specialize in low voltage systems that might come in as the subcontractor. And so we don't add anything by default. You just basically will flag it, and then we were working on the functionality to be able to click this and have it add the components to the software.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I agree. I mean, to me, bringing it to your attention, it's quick to go through there and look at stuff and say, oh, I missed that, I need to add it, or oh, I missed that, but that's okay. It's not something that was going to be part of the estimate anyways. So it's nice to have that feature.
Yeah, that's what we were hoping for. One other thing is, how to modify these things. Just a heads up, you get your labor difficulty here, and swap this out. Normal equal 1, and you've got your labor base rate, your blended labor base rate here. In our software, our software's default is 58. Everyone's got different numbers for that, but yeah. Awesome. Any other questions, Miles?
Yeah, I did have another question too. Like, for us, we do a lot of work with school board government entities where most of them will spec compression fittings for EMT conduit. And I've noticed on there before, like, sometimes it'll have set screw is defaulted, but it also has the option for compression. Is that something where if I upload the specs and it's specs compression, is it automatically going to put that in the takeoff, or do I need to, like when I do my takeoff, just make sure I'm like noting it specifically as either set screw or compression?
Yes, yeah, it will pull it out of the specs and flag it here. The big thing is the problem we have with the specs is that they're not always right. And so really it's up to the estimator to make the final call. Like we've seen like Cecily, when we met with David, remember they were talking about how specs can be like copy and pasted across different plans. And so we are a little hesitant to just blanket apply things. If you really wanted to guarantee compression fittings, you can put in here with compression fittings, and just process it, and the system will fix this stuff. We also have some functionality that'll be coming soon, which will be allowing you to select the building type, which will then have a downstream effect of having our system apply the codes associated with that building type, right? So in your school example, if you say it's a school, our system will make sure that it biases the results towards these materials being in a school, things like that. And then we're also going to start building in some more flags around code and saying like, hey, this system is missing, or this takeoff is missing X, Y, and Z items that aren't even in the specs, but the code requires it for schooling systems, things like that.
Yeah, that makes good sense. I mean, to me, anything, if it's, brings it out in the notes, then it's like, well, we can obviously look through it and say, okay, hey, I want to check and make sure, go line by line, or look at, the conduit and say, okay, I need to verify if it's, a certain kind of fitting, and make the adjustments as needed.
Yeah. Let's let this run here for a sec. Yeah, any additional questions? Any other comments, Miles? I know you've been using this for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, so far, everything's been pretty accurate, comparatively. I've cross-matched like the material pricing that you guys have in here, like in the, takeoff pricing, against like real-time pricing that we're getting from a couple of different distributors. And I mean, across the board, everything is like, super close and accurate. So that's been really helpful. Obviously, like you said, the labor rates is, kind of on us. Everybody's different. So we just kind of adjust those and tweak them. And I mean, overall, I would say the couple of estimates that I've done using the product have been, pretty accurate and pretty spot on with what we would normally come up with. And I actually used it exclusively for a project that we just submitted a bid on last week, and we won that project. We were maybe 3% lower than the other bidder that we bid against. So it was, nice tight bid, and it's good to be competitive and still, feel like we got everything covered well. So
awesome. Cecily, any questions?
No, I'm just kind of mentally documenting some of the things you've talked about. What I guess one question would be is, you mentioned a couple of functionality things that you're working on. Do you have a projected timeline on that? I know it's a loaded question when you're dealing with add-on features and things like that, but
yeah, I should mention, like, the system works now. Like, we're not waiting on anything that would prevent someone from being able to pick it up today. It's mostly just a conservative way to answer this would be like end of October, realistically, on a lot of these features. I mean, we've been moving pretty fast already.
I was going to say that's fairly quick. So
yeah,
that's moving right along.
Yeah, hopefully.
No, I'm good on my question.
You saw the first one we did. Hopefully, this is a much better
Yeah, I mean, that's why you do them, and that's great.
Yeah.
A lot of people go out there and just launch and don't really do the behind the scenes, questions, answers, functionality, all of it. And I applaud you for doing that. That in itself is a smart move. So.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. Thanks to this ECF as well for giving us the design feedback and development feedback that we needed to make this thing work. So appreciate it. Yeah.
You got it.
Awesome. Well, we can kind of wrap this up here if we. Miles, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, one other quick question I had. So is there any limit, like, I've been uploading a handful of projects in there. Is there any limit to like how many projects that you can have, saved into your account? Is it kind of like you just keep adding in forever and it's going to keep all the old ones saved and stored? Or is there some point where, it'll start like overriding old ones or deleting anything to clear up space?
No, there's no limit to it. I would just recommend if you're going to use an old project, I would recommend there's a reprocess button up here. Highly
Mhm.
recommend reprocessing it because we're constantly shipping updates to this. And so if it's more than like 3 months old, you're definitely going to want to reprocess and make sure that that will allow you to edit it.
Yeah.
And you should have roughly this. You'll have roughly the same number. It's just more of a the fact that our team is shipping features so fast. We don't want to put you in a situation where you go back to an old bid and it doesn't quite have the same number. You change something and it breaks or something like that. We just would ask that you reprocess it. But there's no limit to how many projects you can upload, and there's no limit to historical context of your plans. Like if you use this for 10 years, we'll have your your plans will be here for as long as you're using it.
Sure. That's what I was wondering is like, say we did take off and then, 3 years down the road, we're like, oh yeah, we did a takeoff for a similar project. Can we pull it up and look back and say, okay, it's still in there, and, kind of compare it and see. And if it still had the old pricing and we wanted to say, okay, well, we can still see the old pricing, but we could also update to, current day pricing if we wanted to, or, if we didn't reprocess it, it would still be kind of frozen in that old state.
Right. Yeah. And actually, if you reprocess it, it would use the current day pricing. So if you wanted to compare, it'd be even more helpful to reprocess because then you'd get it. We would reprice all your products would be present
Sure.
day. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause we run into it sometimes where, we're doing generator projects or something where it's like, it's very similar. Just minor changes. And then we could go in and say, okay, well, hey, this is how much they were running us a year ago. And then, kind of compare it and see, price increases, what we're dealing with, and kind of, make adjustments like that without having to go through and do a full takeoff starting over.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Yeah. Any other quick questions before we wrap up here?
I think I'm good.
Miles?
Yeah. No, you answered everything I had.
All right, great. Well, thanks, guys. Thank you, Cecily. Thanks, Miles. Cecily, thanks for setting this up.
Absolutely.
Next, I'm going to send you the write-up.
Okay.
And once we get your approval on that, we'll just put that up on the website. And yeah, thank you. Thanks, Cecily. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Miles.
Absolutely. My apologies
Will.
for being a few minutes late. Thanks for
Oh,
your
no
patience.
worries. Of course.
All right.
All right.
Have
Thanks,
a good
everyone.
rest of your day.
You too.
Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you.